Hello, everyone. It is Monday, January 12th of 2026. Here we go with another. This is another update video on this Amtrak build. If you look at the nose here, let me get something to point with. I went ahead and had to use reference photos to place the pilot properly. You'll notice this is blue machinist layout die, and I installed a KD coupler. I cut off the pilot back over here. Because it had the mountings which attached to the truck, the power truck, and this part would attach to the power truck, so that, and then we'd have a coupler attached to that as well. So I also went ahead, and if you look, you can probably see it. Yeah, see, I put screws here and here. These are pot metal castings. All right, this is not steel. So yeah, I found this out the hard way, so to speak, because I went through the rear pilot, okay, another piece here. This is the rear pilot, and when I did something stupid, I figured I'd go ahead and tap it a little bit with a mark to mark it where I would go ahead and put it, all right, where I would go ahead and, it shattered in three pieces. Go figure, okay, that's when I realized, oh, it's stupid. You can't go ahead and you can't do that to pot metal. You have to go ahead and you have to mark it with a scratch, scratch marker or a scriber. And what I did, though, was I also found out that I also cut the pilot back over here. If you notice, this pilot's been cut back a lot also over here. Under the pilot sits two of the screws that hold the floor onto the body, okay? What I do is I went ahead and turned the pilot over and marked out with the machinist layout die. All right, you can see here and here, all right, the two spots. Trying to get this to focus in a little bit, I'm sorry. All right, here and here are two divots that allow for the screws to sit properly on this thing. And the next thing you have to do is, yeah, see, it almost snaps into place and is held in there like that. So this way, the screw heads don't protrude. They don't force it. Is either this or I take a piece of 20,000 styrene or something like that, which would create unevenness and would look not similar. Similar is a word I could use, but it wouldn't look right. So that's why I went ahead and turned it over and made the divots with a Dremel tool with a small round grinding bit. And now those divots, the screw head sitting right in those divots. So the next thing I have to do is I have to drill a couple of mounting holes in this to actually mount this with. And then I have to mark and drill out for the coupler, which is going to sit in here too. You'll notice the floor doesn't have anything on it because I can literally just like, the floor has nothing inside or outside as far as this motor goes, okay? Here's one of the power trucks here. And if you look at it, on my metal cutting bandsaw, which is where I cut the pilot pieces and trim them down to size, I also cut off the ears on the ends of the power trucks that would connect them to the front and rear pilots and to the couplers. Another thing I have to do, which is going to be a bit of a challenge for me, these side frames don't sit correctly as far as I'm concerned, because if you look how far they sit out from the axles, okay? This side sits a bit closer, okay? That's only because of the gearing, all right? But it still sits far, yeah, see, it sits far out. So one of the things that occurred to me to do was to, if you see this little indent right here, this little raised bump right here in the middle, is either drill a hole for that into the side frame and tap it, or elongate the holes here in the side frame, not in the side frames, but in the framing piece. Elongate these holes a bit so I can adjust the position of the side frame, thereby moving it more inboard and closer to the wheels and axles to give it a more prototypical appearance. That's the thing I'm going to have to decide upon. All right, and this is just with getting the pilots mounted and then the motors mounted. I still have to get the dead rail setup and the DCC sound decoder. ESU Lock Sound has a file for this particular engine for the P32s that Amtrak used on the Northeast Corridor, which I live upon. I live in the Albany area, upstate New York. So I've ridden these engines a lot to New York City and back. So Lock Sound does have a sound file for this locomotive you can download and put onto a DCC sound decoder. I'm not entirely sure if the decoders can come with the sound already programmed into it. I'll have to find that out. Look around and find out if that can be done. But here, this is one of the motors attached to the power truck, the gearing and everything. So yeah, it does work. And by the way, being that this is it's only 12 volts, but yet it actually moves pretty bloody slow. It's like it has a nice, almost walking speed, scale walking speed, startup speed. When you start applying electricity to it, power to it. As you can tell, it's been two-railed with two-rail scale wheels. All right, these are 40-inch wheels from Northwest Shortline, and I went ahead and pressed them onto the axles using the tooling that I copied from Lars Lundberg, who's in Sweden. He made one for his two-rail conversions. So now, yeah, like I said, what the big thing is now is getting that rear pilot mounted, and also seeing about getting these side frames mounted, moving closer inboard to the wheels and axles to make it more realistic looking, so to speak. You know, I mean, it's not because it's not mounted to them, but still, you don't want it like this. I mean, this is a hell of a gap right here. I'm not satisfied with this at all. So that's why I'm looking into what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, whether it's elongating these holes to make it adjustable, or by drilling one new hole like right here in the center, and then drilling right through and then tapping it, thread and tap for the same side type screws, so I can use one of the screws here to hold it in place, albeit it'll only be one, you know, but still, it's better than nothing, you know, or better than this. And then after that, these get mounted, and once the rear pilot's mounted, then the trucks go in, and the rest of the parts go together, and then I order the dead rail setup, and I order the DCC sound decoder. I have a speaker already that's already come out of the locomotive. The locomotive has a speaker already. So then after that, also adding LED lighting, all right, to the nose and the tail. So anyway, hope you guys are doing okay, and hope you're having a great weekend or a great week. And I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Have a good one. Bye-bye.